Come on, Michael, you're standing up. You should have been dancing to the music. Well, before we were starting. Here. Because everyone needed to see that really, really badly. Hello, patrons!
Hello, kaiju lovers!
In fact, I'm talking with a patron. I finally convinced him to rejoin.
Well, okay, to be fair,
you promised.
The only reason he was able to, he said that I was never allowed to stream with him again unless I joined Patreon.
No, you were like, I want to come on and stream with you, and I said, no, because you're not on Patreon. And you're like, well, I'll rejoin Patreon. I'm like, okay, fine, make good on that.
Well, and then to my dismay, I found out you don't have a $1 tier, so I had to. I was just gonna give you $1, which is.
I am no fool. In fact, Patreon even said, "Hey, don't do $1 tiers. Start with at least 3." I'm like, "Okay, Patreon, I'm gonna listen to you."
Oh boy, but no, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. There's a good Lord. Happy Godzilla Day, everyone. I am not MIFV Nate. I'm not MIFV Nate because this is not in character, and apparently Michael is the hot one. Yes, Michael the hot one, Hamilton.
So listen. Before we get started, because this is Godzilla's birthday, we have to start off the appropriate way by singing "Happy Birthday"
in Japanese. Can you do it in Japanese?
I cannot do it in Japanese. I could try, but it would sound incredibly racist.
If you really wanted to impress me, you would have learned how to say it in Japanese.
I could try, but it would probably come off sounding incredibly racist.
And this is a problem. Why?
Oh, come on.
Right, and that stopped you before?
Oh, now that's not. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him, Patreon people. Don't
all
listen
right,
to him,
fine.
fellow patrons.
All right, fine. Lead us. Come on.
All right. Me. Okay. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Godzilla. Happy birthday to you.
Beautiful.
And as we say in my family, and many more.
And many more.
That was something I was not expecting, which means the patrons will not expect it. So in case you ever wanted to hear Michael and I harmonize, there you go. Where was all this energy last night when we were supposed to record Power Trip?
Man, I was exhausted. I slept like sorry, this is my bad. I slept like crap.
Now I'm gonna have to edit it.
It's one little slip up's not gonna hurt. I'll keep it to a minimum. Besides, it's for Patreon people. There's no kids that
this
listen
part's
to
going
show.
out publicly. This is not the Patreon exclusive part.
Whoops! I thought I'm gonna have to mind my P's and Q's now. That this is gonna be broadcasted out, and my G's, my G's. I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know.
So yes, it's Godzilla Day.
We got business.
Yeah, so it's Godzilla Day 2022. Have you done anything for Godzilla Day? You wanted to do stuff for Godzilla Day.
Well, I did want to do things for Godzilla Day, and I'm incredibly angry that I had to be an adult and work, or a responsible adult, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, the original plan was, and this will kind of dovetail into what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Our first item of business.
Right. So I was gonna work half a day and then drive to Columbus to watch Godzilla X Mechagodzilla for Godzilla Day, because they were having a Fathom event at one of the theaters in Columbus. And Columbus is not that far for me. It's like 2.5 hours. It's not that bad at all. Yeah. Bastards. Anyway, so that was the plan. I was going to leave here sometime in the afternoon, get to Columbus, get some food, do a little bit of shopping. Our friend Danny told me about this really nifty toy shop where I could buy some more adult toys right there in downtown Columbus. And that was my plan. Well,
there. I was looking. I was like, where did I put it? Did I make
what do they say about the best laid plans, Mr.
Of mice and men?
Yes. So long story short, that ended up not happening. I had to work most of the day, so I ended up missing it. But I did stay up late. I did stay up late last night, and with a few friends from Monsters with Attitude, and we watched the Godzilla stream until 4 a.m. And I was extremely exhausted today. And as far as Godzilla stuff today goes, I mean, I've had Godzilla movies on in the background all day today, just for noise.
Oh,
basically.
Right.
Started with 54, had that on in the background. I think by the time I had my last phone call of the day, I got to Sea Monster. So I got pretty far in.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I did watch Sea Monster today because that's the next movie I record about on the Film Vault.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to let me on that episode or what? Have we decided?
No. I already have 3 guests for that one.
Oh, well. I mean, what's one more?
I don't want a circus that bad.
Like, come on. It's not fair.
You're going to be on the show enough, sir.
I thought we were friends. March Hand. How dare you? How dare you? But to get back to the task at hand, talking about the Fathom event, you actually got to go to this thing.
And yes, I did, because it was just a hop, skip, and a jump away for me. It was literally down the street. You, on the other hand, needed 3 hours, and I'm sorry. It's one of those times where I realize I can't take where I live for granted.
Well, I will say this, though. Given what I know, because you and I have already talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit before, because I just got back from that whole thing a little over an hour ago.
It turns out I wasn't missing much. So
yeah, and that's why I have this listing pulled up to show everybody. This is... Just to let you know, this is what I read, and I have talked about this on other streams before. I was on a Kaiju Kim stream, where I talked about this. It says right here, this limited time screening will feature content never before seen on the big screen, direct from Japan, along with an exclusive special message for the fans from Toho's chief Godzilla officer in Tokyo. Those are technically not lies, although what's funny is that it says for the first time ever in U.S. cinemas, which is not true. It did play once in California. It had a U.S. premiere.
Last time I checked, California was still part of the United States.
For now, anyway. You know, they keep threatening to secede. At least they were for a while. But so I read this as, maybe there's some new footage for the movie, for Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla. I was like, maybe it's an extended cut or something, because it said it was 108 minutes, hour 48 minutes. That's 20 minutes longer than the actual movie if you watch it on your Blu-ray or on streaming or whatever. So like maybe it's a little bit longer, and then there's the little message or something like that. And I've been to Fathom Events screenings like this before where there'll be these little messages bookending it. So I thought, oh, maybe it'll be this big announcement that from Toho saying, hey, guess what, guys? We're doing X, Y, and Z. And then guess what? It was a lot of nothing. It was literally this guy saying, thanks for coming for the 70th anniversary of Godzilla. We're making new content. Enjoy the movie. I'm like, really? That's it? That's it. And there was nothing afterward. I was a wee bit perturbed.
I mean, but at least you got to see Godzilla X Mechagodzilla in theaters.
Yes, but I have opinions about that, and let's just get that out of the way.
Condition.
Let's get that out of the way. I was glad I got to see this. I haven't seen this in a theater before, so yes, it was cool to see it. We're not here to talk about the movie itself because this is not it's not that MIFV episode yet, but.
Well, you actually really sidebar here, but you were actually just on a podcast talking about this with
Autistic Lizard, Brendan Morley.
Autistic Lizard, Brandon Morley,
yeah. So we talked about a little bit about it to try to get people hyped for this event, make sure and get more people to go. And I will say the theater was very well attended tonight. I will say that, which made me happy. So I'm like, yay! There are apparently more local Godzilla fans here than I thought. So that's good. So, as for the movie itself, I figured out very quickly, because I have just rewatched this recently, these are different subtitles. It was subtitled. I was wondering if it'd be sub or dub. It was subtitled. And they're different subtitles than what is on that Blu-ray. And I know this because I remember that some of the lines were a little bit different. And, most egregious of all, there were typos.
Well, I mean, we did learn that Godzilla's name is not actually Godzilla. It's Godzilla.
Godzilla. Yeah, Godzilla.
Godzilla is good for business.
Yeah, Godzilla is good for... Yeah, Godzilla. They misspelled Godzilla's name. They also misspelled the name of the main character. It's Akane, and they spelled it Akene at one point in the movie. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
So it's officially in canon a Kenny.
We had a Kenny and Hatteras, so.
Well, it's there. This film officially has an Akenny.
An Akenny, yes, an Akenny. Yeah, an Akenny.
See, thank you. We got there eventually.
Yes, it took me a second to realize I should hit the button, but and then the thing that was really annoying is that if there were ever two people speaking at the same time, like there's a scene early on where you have the dad and the daughter and the TV is on, it couldn't decide which one to focus on. It would switch between, but then there would be dialogue that would get missed because it was a little scattershot about who to focus on. Whereas if you watch the Blu-ray, it subtitles both. Also, if there's ever text on the screen, which happens a lot in this movie, that's explaining a new location. If they change the location so that it wants to tell you very quickly this is where you are. If there are people talking, no subtitles. So you miss lines because it doesn't want to compete, I guess, with the on-screen text with the new location. I'm just like, come the frick on. And no, the Janus Films logo did not appear before this. That was going to be my next question. Did the Janus Films logo actually appear? Which gives me hope. And I can tell you right now, there's I don't even know if it's rumor at this point. It's all but confirmed that they've gotten their mitts on the Heisei and Millennium films. I'm pretty sure Criterion will have much better subtitles than this. Oh, I'm sure. It'll also probably be a step up from what's on the previous Sony releases. So, well, let's hope that they actually get good transfers this time too. Yeah, that would be nice. The transfer that we saw tonight was pretty good, so I can't fault them there. Well, I'm just talking about the Criterion set that came out for the Showa series a few years ago. The transfers,
I mean, they're good, but they're not like really good.
Yeah, but that's a whole other topic, which
that is a whole
which our
other
friend
can of
Elijah
worms.
and I have already talked about in the very first MIFV Max. Actually, we talked about the Criterion and the Gamera set. We did a little comparison.
Bringing in it's all continuity at this point.
Yes, quite.
So I have to ask you, given the fact that, given all of these hiccups during the stream, or not during the stream, sorry, during the viewing experience, was it worth it?
It was fun to see it in this. It was fun to see it on the big screen. As usual, these movies are meant to, even stuff like this is meant to be seen on the big screen. They're better on the big screen. They really are. Quaint special effects or not, they just look better. I don't know what it is. They just look better on the big screen.
But if you had to drive more than 30 minutes to go to the theater, would it have been worth it?
Probably not. But again, it could have been a case of managing expectations.
Could have been.
That's really,
because you and I have had this conversation before leading up to it. We thought that they were going to have this big announcement. Like you said, we thought they were going to announce the new film and yada, yada, yada. And we did get that kind of, but they did it during the live stream at like 11 p.m. Eastern at night.
Yeah.
During actual Godzilla Day,
right.
Which was good because, I got to see it before everybody else or before a lot of people. But it's kind of disappointing for you because such a big event like that, going to the theater to watch a new movie, you would at least assume they would just take that recording, or they would just have some kind of special announcement like they did with the Godzilla Day
Even if all they did was just say the exact same thing.
Right.
And not this, hey, we're making new stuff for the 70th anniversary. Just actually say, we're making a new movie, guys. Here's the poster.
Yeah. So speaking of, let's dovetail into the actual like good stuff that came out of Godzilla Day.
Well, no. There's one more thing we got to talk about from this screening. What the actual never before seen on the big screen content was.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Which will actually involve a little bit of a discussion because it's stuff from last year. That's the thing. It's just like, you're just giving me a bunch of old stuff right now, Toho. This is stuff from last year's Godzilla Day that I didn't talk about. So here we go. We're going to talk about it now. They played the Godzilla versus Hedorah short from last year. And then after that, they showed a behind-the-scenes featurette that was longer than the actual short film. So there's where most of your extra 20 minutes was from. That. Ta-da, I guess. So, Godzilla versus Hedorah short.
To be fair, though, that short was pretty great. But at the same time, wouldn't it have made more sense to show the behind the scenes? Because they ran a behind the scenes, like a little 10-minute or so behind the scenes for Godzilla versus Gigan this year. So they showed that. And I'm wondering, wouldn't it have been better just to show that and have a little bit more continuity with what's going on in Japan?
I would have thought that showing this year's short would have made more sense, not last year's.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it. That was another little disappointment. I mean, it was cool seeing it on the big screen, but I still would have preferred seeing the new one because I've already seen this. And yeah, I would love to hear from people who had to drive more than 10 minutes, like I did, in order to go see this stuff. Because I wonder if they would have been disappointed.
Probably. It sounds as though if I would have made the trip, if I would have just been able to make the trip and drive the 2.5 hours to go to Columbus, it sounds as though I probably would have been a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, you might have lucked out. Like I said, I only went 10 minutes. It wasn't that bad. But anyway, let's talk about this little short. So I try to remember the name of the guy who directed this, but I wish I could remember.
I don't remember the guy's name.
Yeah, but
I don't remember the guy's name.
He's a little bit of a big deal. My apologies. I'm a terrible fan. I know Elijah's yelling at me right now. He's calling me a fake fan. I know he is because I don't remember.
Because you're a fake fan.
No,
so,
yeah,
okay.
I'm a fake fan who runs a podcast about this stuff. Oh, totally.
You're a fake fan, but we still love you. It's fine.
Right, and you're a fake Power Ranger fan. We know this too. Yeah.
I know.
You quit. You quit after Lost Galaxy, and the real fans kept watching. Anyway.
Yes,
quite. Anyway, so it's a little short film. It's just basically a really cool fight scene, and the thing that made people well, depending on who you talk to, some people were excited, some people weren't. It's using the Final Wars suits for both Godzilla and Hedorah.
Right.
But it's actual suitmation. It's not CGI. There were some people like, why are you using these suits? And, well, first off, they're like, why don't they just make new suits? Because those cost money. And I don't know how much Toho wanted to actually invest in this. It's basically a glorified fan film is really what it is. It's an official glorified fan film. And as for why they use these, probably because, well, not probably, they actually said in the behind-the-scenes featurette, we went through basically what was in storage to find things we could use, and we found these. It's because they're the most recent suits, and they're usable.
Well, and they're usable. They were in good condition.
Yeah, that's really all it was. That's what it boiled down to. And so it starts off with, and you know what? And it's kind of cool because Final Wars Hedorah is hardly used. So we actually get to see that suit up close and personal. We actually get to see it do stuff, unlike its cameo in Final Wars. I'm okay with this. I actually kind of like the Final Wars suits for both of them, so I don't mind. So it starts off with Hedorah being a drug addict, huffing on a smokestack. Godzilla shows up. They start a fight, and there's some cool cinematography and stuff after that. It's really all it boils down to.
I was talking with our friend Elijah today. Because I called him to find out how his Godzilla day went, or how he thought the day went from his perspective, his littlest gatekeeper perspective.
Oh, yes.
And he actually said that he enjoyed the Hedorah short from last year more than the one from this year because he said it had more interesting cinematography. Now, you've not seen the one from this year yet.
No. And I'll be doing a live reaction to that for the patrons. So sorry, people who are listening to this in the regular podcast feed. You don't get to hear or see that. You want that? You got to join Patreon. You can join at the lowest tier and you can still see it. All right. But we will have a live reaction and discussion of each of those short films.
Right.
And I will, so just so everybody knows. But I think honestly for me, this one, there's a lot of callbacks to imagery that we know from from a lot of different eras of Godzilla in there. They play music from Final Wars, which always makes me happy. They have the Final Wars suits, like I said. There's some Showa music in there as well. Particularly at the end, they play that weird kind of like trombone theme for Godzilla, which seems almost out of place with that suit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. The best part of the whole thing for me was that really long panning camera shot that they did in one take, where the buildings, it takes place at an industrial complex, and Godzilla and Hedorah actually get obscured by buildings as the camera is moving over, which they use to their advantage because there's a point where you just see like this geyser of sludge come up and you're like, oh, Godzilla did something. I don't know what he did, but I guess he did something. And then they just keep going. And you see some atomic rays get fired up into the sky a couple of times, so it looks cool. It's, there's no real story here. It's really just a showcase of cinematography and special effects.
It looks better. It's better than the one, because the hetero one was only the second of these fan events. So I will say the hetero, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was cool. I like those low angle shots,
right? The low angle
from
shots.
that one. But I will say
the sunset shots at the end were cool too.
It's better than the one from 2020 where it was just basically Godzilla shows up, wrecks some buildings, and walks away. So
no one even remembers that one.
Yeah. Elijah, our friend Elijah, had to remind me about that one. I was like, oh yeah, that is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But you know who really loved this one? I'm sure our friend Alyssa. Yeah.
I'm sure she
adores
did.
This one.
I'm sure she did.
Yeah, she adores this one. She did a little reaction video to it, and she just gushed over it, as I would expect. So,
of course,
because that's her favorite Godzilla film. But yeah, like I said, there's plenty of cool stuff. It's 5 minutes of fan service, but some of the. Honestly, the behind the scenes of it was more interesting than I thought it would be. Have you seen that?
I have not seen the behind the scenes stuff.
The behind the scenes is interesting because they talk to the director and the crew and show the process about actually going through and doing it, and it looks about as old school as you can get, which is why people appreciate these. It's not because there's some deep involved story or anything. It's because they're using the traditional techniques to make it. And so it's on a stage, and they got the cameras moving around. They got a guy running around, throwing debris into the camera and following the suits around. They talk to the suit actors. So it was actually really nice to see. And as I saw, and actually in one of the Facebook chats that I'm in, someone brought up this line where the director just flat out said, "Godzilla films are not about realism." Explained a little bit about what he meant about that. And like people were saying in that chat, I too used to drink a lot. I too thought of Jack. when he said that.
But no, I like the hetero short. It's good. It's good. I don't remember much. Honestly, I don't remember much about it except for a little bit of the cinematography. I should have rewatched it before we started recording, but it's good.
Yeah. I'm a little annoyed with how Toho's handling the shorts this year. Apparently, they were only available, what did you say, for about 24 hours? And I swear last year the hetero one was up for at least 2 weeks.
Well, let's see here. This is on the fly. You can cut this out if you want to. You can leave it. But looking at the Godzilla channel now.
The hetero short's not up anymore.
Well, I know that. Yeah, I knew the hetero short wasn't up anymore. I'm looking at the Gigan versus Gigan Rex is still up, and the trailer for the latest short is still there, but the actual video itself of the 6-minute long Godzilla versus Gigan is not there.
That's silly. It is so
They
silly.
took it down.
Yeah, that's silly.
But you can still find it on the internet. Just saying.
On an archive, per se?
It's archived somewhere on the internet by an organization.
Good to know. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So
just go find it on archive.org. It's there.
Right. Yeah. When we won't get sued by Toho or anything for actually name dropping it. No. We're safe. No. Right. If this stream suddenly dies, I know who I'm blaming.
This podcast is not big enough to catch the attention of Toho.
Yet. Hey, Power Trip's not big enough for Hasbro to care either. Yet.
Yet. Yes, quite.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yes, quite. Yeah, they'll go after Carl before they come after us. So, and anyone who's not in the know is really confused right now.
Yes.
Awkward pause is awkward. Anyway, let's talk about.
Yeah. I don't know what else to add to that.
I understand. Anyway, Godzilla Day news. So we had a lot of collectibles announced, which made you especially happy.
Ooh, doggy. Yes,
I've gotten back into collecting, but I'm still not as deep into it as you are.
I'm so excited about all the dadgum collectibles that have been released today.
His age suddenly tripled right there.
Actually, before, if you'll indulge me just for a second, and for our for the Patreon listeners, I do want to give a plug to.
Oh? What do you got?
I want to give a plug to Mr. Mark Yang. I bought a resin for anyone listening to the audio version of this. You don't see me holding up a resin statue of Godzilla 1964. But I bought a resin kit of Godzilla 1964, the emergence, his first appearance in the film, and it was painted by the very talented Mark. Mothra versus Godzilla. It was painted by the very talented Mark Yang, Mark Sang Yang. Super talented guy. I really just, for anyone who's not aware, super talented. If you need like painting done for figures and whatnot, go to him. And he's extremely reasonable in price too. So there's my plug for Mark, because I'm super happy.
There you go
with that. But now back to the news.
Yes,
back to the news.
And now back to the news.
And now back to action. Okay.
Yeah, wrong show. Anyway, so we had there was a bunch of collectible announcements today, which I was kind of expecting. I was mildly disappointed that Mondo, because Mondo was one of the big ones that announced stuff. They had a whole slew of things, but they did not announce another Jet Jaguar. I was hoping for another Jet Jaguar pre-order, but because there's supposed to be 2 more, I got to complete the set so I can have a pseudo Sentai team with them.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it wasn't that. But you know better about the Mondo stuff than I do. You even tried to buy one and failed.
I did. Well, actually, I got one because Mondo, for anyone who knows anything about Mondo Shop, they're notorious. They're the ones that release like designer posters and designer vinyl and stuff like that. They've gotten really they're really popular with like posters and vinyl records. Like they're
limited run, so it's funny that you say popular when you can't get very many.
Right. So they released Tom Whalen, famous Godzilla artist. He did the box art for the Lightning Collection for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection for Hasbro, but he typically releases like maybe 2 posters a year for Mondo. They're usually Godzilla themed. So he produced this really beautiful. I don't know if you'll allow me to. Can I share my screen? Yes, I can share my I can share my screen. Can you see my screen, sir?
I can.
Okay. Well, anyway, so he produced 2 really gorgeous posters. One of which I did grab. I was able to get this one.
Yeah, because these notoriously sell out in 2 seconds.
Yes.
Like literally.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, by the way. Thank you, Tom. But yeah, I got this. I was able to get this one. It's gorgeous. It's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2. The only thing that is missing from what I can see, and Danny was the one that pointed this out, there's no baby Godzilla.
Kim will be disappointed.
There's no baby Godzilla in this poster, so that's extremely disappointing. But whatever. It's still nice. It's still pretty. There's two variants. There's a there's the English version and the Japanese version. Here's the Japanese version for anyone who's interested. I went with the American.
The composition's reversed.
I went with the American version because I just like the colors more. Plus, I've got a couple of posters that are already purple, so I wanted some variety.
Right.
But this one is the one that I tried to get and failed.
Right.
This Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla poster that sold out in 0.2 seconds.
Yep.
By
the robot got bought by a bot.
Yes, the robot got bought by a bot. The artist is Oliver Barnett. Our artist is Oliver Barnett. It's a gorgeous poster. I really, really wanted this poster, but yeah, the bots got me. One more quick thing that got released. You can now buy the Tokyo SOS premium statue.
Right.
These are kind of expensive. I'm going to skip it.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's still gorgeous. It's beautiful. Not much else I can say there. If you want to spend the money, go for it.
Yep.
They're also going to be releasing a Godzilla versus Mothra LP, the vinyl record, but that got delayed. That was actually supposed to come out today, but that actually got delayed until a later date due to Mondo put out a tweet, said it's due to production issues that they're not going to be able to release it. It's fine. I've been collecting the vinyls. For anyone who, let me see if I can find one here. The most recent one I need to take it out of the shrink wrap is this Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 vinyl. I don't know, super neat. I listen to records every now and then. And then Waxworks Records, who also puts out vinyl, they released the Singular Point soundtrack. Right. I did pre-order that.
Right.
I think it'll be here next week. It already shipped out.
That's impressive. Super 7 announced some new figures.
Yep, Super 7 announced some of their reaction figures.
Yep.
X Plus dropped a few new things. They reissued the Gigantic 62.
FYE exclusives.
FYE exclusives. There's just a ton. Honestly, there's just a ton of stuff. There's new like Marasan, who's if anyone's familiar with Sofubi, like soft vinyl. Marasan just put out a crap ton of Hedorah figures. Like they always do, because I feel like Hedorah gets the most love out of any kaiju in the Godzilla universe.
Just like Alyssa.
So they're going to be putting out a bunch of stuff, but there's just a lot. And honestly, if you want a good resource to go find out everything that got released in terms of like toys and collectibles, go to kaijubattle.net. That site is a fantastic resource if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
Right. So lots of products got announced today. And then obviously we've already talked about it a little bit. We had 2 short films that dropped. One, this is interesting. I didn't know about this until you told me today, but we had the new live action one made by
right.
I think it's the same guys who did the Hedorah short. Basically another glorified fan film.
It's the same.
Yeah. So Godzilla versus Gigan tying, because it's the 50th anniversary. But we also had it's CGI, right? It's animated. Gigan versus Gigan Rex, or Godzilla versus Gigan Rex. It's
Godzilla versus Gigan Rex.
Yeah, I'm a little unclear about the title, but that one was made by a studio called Gemstone. So for those who don't know, tell us, because you told me about it earlier. Tell us about Gemstone.
So Gemstone is a little independent film company. They do a lot of like computer graphics, computer animation company. They produce, I cannot remember when this was. I think this was like 2019. They produced a very short fan film of Godzilla versus Gigan. Well, I guess they did such a brilliant job that they caught the attention of Toho. Toho bought the rights to what they were doing and then had them finish the project for Gigan's 50th anniversary today. Gigan's 50th anniversary this year. So it is the company Gemstone worked alongside Toho to produce this. I think it's like 9 minutes long. It's a pretty long little short.
Mm-hmm. And Toho is already merchandising the snot out of Gigan Rex. Like they already contacted Bandai and said, make toys.
Yes.
Because the Bandai mandates, man.
Yes. So I mean, it's honestly, it was a little fan project, a passion project from those guys at Gemstone that caught the attention of Toho, and they got to continue to work on it because they had the support of Toho for it. So
where is Gemstone based? Do you know?
Oh God, I think they're based out of Japan, but I'm not 100% sure. After a quick Google search, Gemstone Studios. Gemstone Studios is based out of.
You would think I would have looked this up myself.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yes, quite.
Gemstone Studios. That is a. I do not know where Gemstone.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But
yeah, I don't know where that. I don't know where they're out of actually.
Yeah,
I think they're out of Japan, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right, well, that's fine. I'm sure somebody will correct us at some point.
because during the Godzilla Day stream that on Toho's YouTube channel, they actually brought the creator of that short film up on stage, and he is Japanese.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that he and his team live in Japan.
Right. All right. Well, like I said, we'll get to those shorts in the Patreon exclusive portion of the stream. The big news that we need to talk about, that everybody in the fandom has been losing their minds over, is Toho. And I knew this was going to happen. I knew they were going to announce this. I know things. Thank you, Elijah.
I know things too, sir.
But Toho announced another Godzilla film. In fact, it just confirmed what a lot of people have been thinking already, which was, now I'm going to have to look his name up, but there's a particular director that I know our friend Jack has been a big fan of.
It is, because I shared this with you and Danny in our private chat. The director's name is
Takashi Yamazaki.
Takashi Yamazaki.
Yeah, Takashi Yamazaki, which I know there have been some people in the fandom who have been clamoring for him to direct a Godzilla film for a while. It was announced a few months ago that he was working on a kaiju project for Toho. And people are like, is it a Godzilla film? Is it a secret Godzilla film? And now that we've confirmed, yes, it's a Godzilla film. Yeah. And it's coming out next Godzilla Day, November 3rd, at least in Japan. And then I'm going to guess it'll take at minimum 3 to 6 months to get over here.
I mean, they may surprise us. We were talking about this earlier. They may surprise us and say it's a worldwide release. But knowing Toho, it's probably going to be Japan only for about 6 months.
Yeah, 3 to 6 months. But that basically just means I need to clear a slot in the Film Vault schedule for that, because that's going to be too big of a deal, which means we're going to have an overabundance of riches, because we also have another MonsterVerse film coming out that is apparently going to have Godzilla and Kong in it. So they're doing what I've been saying for a while that needs to be done. Toho, you can keep making movies, and you can let Legendary keep making MonsterVerse films. Why not have both?
And don't forget, Marchand, we've still got the Apple TV We've still got the Apple TV series
right.
that's based on, but that centers around Monarch coming.
Right.
And then we have the Kong anime.
Right.
And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of other releases, books and whatnot. We've got in terms of that's non video media.
Right.
We've got the new Godzilla visual guide coming out this month, I think.
Yeah.
So I think in the next couple of years, we're going to be swimming in Godzilla riches.
It's like we were a little ahead of the curve when we started our podcast.
A little bit. Yeah. We started I know that Travis started Kaiju Weekly at the right time. You started MIFV at the right time. Our friends at Monsters vs. Men, who started around the same time
Elijah,
we did.
there was a bunch
Elijah.
It's like as soon as Kaiju Cast is closing up right before this new Kaiju Renaissance, suddenly everyone else is like, I need to make another podcast to fill the void.
I mean, it's a really good, it's really strange now to think about that there was at one point in time this 10-year gap between Godzilla movies and between Godzilla media. And now since 2014, I would say, we've been swimming in kaiju and Toho. It's eventually Godzilla's going to have to go back out to sea and take a break. But I mean, I'm going to soak it up as long as I can.
Soak it up while you can. Yeah, for sure. But so we had that big announcement, which was not mentioned at the screening tonight. I'm like, come on, just tell us the same thing. They showed a poster, and the poster's been making the rounds. It looks like a very stylized G. I had to look at it a couple of times to figure out that it was a G. True confession time. The first couple of times I saw it, I thought it was stylized like the Alien 3 poster, like the teaser poster. You ever seen that? That has the chest burster curling in a circle. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I thought it was.
I'm actually looking. I'm trying to find the G logo now so I can take another look at it.
Yeah. Well, give me a second here. I'll see if I can find it and show that on the stream. Let me see. Godzilla
no, I have
2023 poster. Here it is. Let me see. Open in new tab. Next off of that. This is great StreamYarding. Can you tell? Let me see. I'll stop that screen and I will do another share screen. I'm going to keep vamping hard here. And there you go.
Vamp.
There you go. That's your poster.
I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah. We were actually thinking that they would wait until the actual 70th anniversary to do this. So the fact that it's coming out next year is a little surprising. Our friend Travis has already tried to imply incredibly stupid jokes about the next anniversary.
I mean, it is Godzilla's 69th birthday. So do with that number what you will.
Right. So we've got the poster. I'm wondering if the fact that it's just G like this. But by the way, for those who are just listening, the G looks like not only like the Alien 3 poster, but it also looks like a big ink blot. A little bit, like a stylized ink blot. Yeah. I'm also wondering if this is a reference back to how the original 54 film was at one point just titled G or Project G.
Maybe.
Which was, I think, just meant giant or gigantic. They hadn't settled on a name yet. They were just calling it that.
Yeah.
The only details that have been revealed from what you were telling me is that it's a period piece. It'll take place not in the 1940s. It'll be the 40s, but you said it's post-war.
It's post-war. It's post World War II. So we're post the atomic bomb at this point.
Yeah.
And it's set in the 40s.
Right. Which means it's occupation era. If they're sticking to history, it's occupation era Japan. Which will be interesting. And the only other kaiju film that I know of that takes place during that particular era is Reigo. Reigo God of the Sea Monsters by Shinpei Hayashiya, which that actually takes place during the war. But this is going to be post-war, which makes me wonder if they are really going to lean hard into the atomic stuff. I'm wondering if Godzilla in this film is going to be a direct result of the actual atomic bombings and not a nuclear test a decade down the road.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, I'm wondering what the origin is, because is Godzilla a dinosaur? Is he an animal that just got mutated? I mean, what is he? So I guess we're going to find out.
That'll be interesting, but I really do think they're going to take the Hiroshima and Nagasaki connections, make them just direct at this point, as opposed to implicit, like in the original film.
Oh, and that's going to make a lot of fans happy, because I know people have been clamoring for a film like this for a while, because, like you said, Godzilla it's always been implied, or heavily implied, that Godzilla was a result of the atomic bomb, but we're going to actually see maybe like the bomb get dropped and then boom, Godzilla.
It would be, if it's supposed to be Hiroshima, Nagasaki, at this point, because we have so little news, Michael and I are just going to kind of speculate a little bit and then talk a little bit about what we as fans would like to see come out of this project.
Sure.
But I'm guessing that if they are going the route of he is directly a result of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I don't think he's going to be a dinosaur, because I just don't think that'll work. Not in this context. So my guess would be is they're going to go with a different origin, which might upset some people, but it's still going to be nuclear in nature. I could see something, this is just me spitballing, I could see something similar to, say, GMK with this, where perhaps Godzilla is something like an angry god, or, yeah, probably a god, not a yokai. A yokai wouldn't make sense. Most yokai are, as far as I know anyway, I could be wrong on this, I don't think there are really any yokai that are that powerful, and very few are kaiju sized. The only one I know of that's kaiju sized is one version of Gasha Dobura, which is the starving skeleton, inspiration for the other, I think he is just called Gasha Dobura in Kaku Ranger or Rito Revolto, so in Power Rangers, but that's only one version. The original story wasn't that big. It was a 19th century painting that depicted that yokai as kaiju size that then became the more dominant version. So probably something like an angry god. I could see that. You know, the god is angry that Japan has had nuclear weapons dropped on it and now is exacting its wrath upon upon the world for that, which could potentially get to some dicey territory, because if that's the case, if they do something like that, then that ire needs to be directed toward the occupation. That could be a little scary. But I don't know.
It would be interesting. But it's going to be interesting to see, because we've never really seen that, though. Like in 1954, we know that Godzilla is a direct result of the atomic bomb, but we don't know to what extent.
Right.
It's assumed that it's just a dinosaur sleeping at the bottom of the ocean that was mutated.
Yeah, it got hit by the radiation through a nuclear test. But again, like I said, if they're keeping to history, we could see Godzilla fighting occupation forces. Because Japan's military was just smashed at that point. They had nothing. And the SDF doesn't exist yet. Again, if they stick to history.
I'm wondering if they rewrite the origin story to make Godzilla a defender of Japan.
What do you mean?
Like defended against the occupation.
It would be an alternate history where Godzilla is protecting Japan from the Allies.
Yes.
That would be insane.
It would be insane.
It would be insane. We already have people on this side of the Pacific who are trying to say that Shin Godzilla is nationalist propaganda. If you do that with this movie, good Lord, that's going to get cranked to 12.
Refresh my memory. What is Shin's origin story? It was just an organism that was mutated.
It was a collection of marine organisms that were mutated by radiation, and then they slowly started conglomerating together.
Gotcha. Because its first form, we just see a tail. I couldn't remember exactly what the established origin story for that is. I mean, we could see something similar, but
potentially
set back. Yeah,
we really,
but just
we don't know anything at this point other than it's Godzilla, and it takes place in the 40s. We don't know if they're sticking to history. We don't know if it's going to be
rewriting history,
if it's going to be an alternate history story, which is a thing that is a subgenre of science fiction. An example that would be very well known would be Man in the High Castle, which got made into a television show by Amazon. That's an example of alternate history. In that one, it's what if the Axis won World War II and took over the world?
Yeah.
And then you fast forward a few decades.
Half the United States is divided up between
Nazi Germany,
Nazi Germany, Japan, and the rebel forces.
Right.
Rebel forces meaning the Americans.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I'm just spitballing here. What would let's get away from what we think might actually happen. What do you, Michael, as a Godzilla fan, what do you want out of this film?
I want another just old school versus film.
I don't think you're going to get that. I would not be surprised if this is another solo film, but
I don't see. Here's the thing, though. I don't want, and we've had so many origin films, like we've had so many reboot films. Like I'm sick of reboot films. As a fan, you asked me as a fan, what do I want? I want a versus. I want just an old school versus film.
Do you want a new monster? I don't think do you want them to bring back another classic?
I want something brand new. Bring in Baggin.
Oh my gosh! Really? You really want them to canon? They've already canonized him. He's in the kid show with the puppets.
I want him to I want Baggin canonized,
and he's in a video game.
In film outside in a real film.
You know, I would be willing to go with that. Maybe if you're going to pit Godzilla against something interesting, canonizing like going the extra mile, I would say, with canonizing Baggin. Put him in a film finally. It would make a lot of fans happy. The thing is that you would also have to kind of figure out which version of Baggin you want to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would also just dreaming here. I still want. I want that eventual. Like we're gonna get this eventually, but it's long overdue at this point. Godzilla versus Gamera.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Honestly, the MonsterVerse is probably more likely to get that to happen than Toho at this point.
Yeah.
Because we know that Katakawa is basically open to anything. I think they just need to send Katakawa a good enough pitch and enough money, and it won't be a lot of money, and they'll probably do it.
Well, I would imagine that the agreement would have to be neither one of them can lose. So, yeah, like that, like it would just be fight to a draw or a team up, like we got with GVK.
Probably, although GVK had technically had winners. Although there's different rounds in that movie, and you can argue that each of them wins a different round. Godzilla wins round 1. I would say Kong wins round 2. Round 3 goes to Godzilla, and then Kong saves Godzilla. So,
yeah. But if I'm just dreaming here, I want an old school versus film. I know I'm not going to get it. We're going to get another origin story film. It is what it is. I don't want it, but that's what we're probably going to get. I'm still going to watch it. It's not like I'm not going to watch the damn thing.
Oh, yeah, you will. You will, yeah. Unless the stuff you see in the lead up to it is just so egregiously bad, you'll watch it.
Yeah. It would take a lot for me not to watch it. I'm not the biggest fan of Shin. I wasn't the biggest fan of Shin leading up to Shin until I saw it for the first time. I still watched it, but
I would be curious to see what they do with it. I think you've got more possibilities by doing a versus film, as you put it. Doing another Godzilla solo film, especially this soon after Shin, at least with the other solo Godzilla films, if you go by the Toho canon, excluding Godzilla 98, there's several decades in between each one of them. And they're each very distinct to their era, to their generation. 54 is very entrenched in Japan in 1954. Return of Godzilla is very entrenched in Japan in 1984. Shin Godzilla is very entrenched in Japan 2016. I don't know if you can do that here, which maybe that's why they've decided to make this a period piece so they can do something different. I mean, I'll give them that much. A Godzilla film in the 40s has never been done before. It's not, and it's going to be interesting. Yeah. And it will be something that I think really, if it is 1940s Japan, it'll be something that really only the Japanese can do effectively, I would say. Yeah. The MonsterVerse wouldn't try something like this. Not a whole movie. A flashback for a scene. Yeah. But I don't think they would go this far with it. For better or for worse, say what you want about the MonsterVerse. MonsterVerse wouldn't tackle something like this because they're more interested in, and this is not meant to sound demeaning towards the MonsterVerse, but I feel like Legendary is more interested in the spectacle than necessarily reimagining the story. Right. But after Godzilla vs. Kong, they really cracked open the MonsterVerse a lot with the Hollow Earth. That gives them a very big playground right there that they can start very much. They can start doing stuff with. And so that's where they're going. They're going more for the fantastical at this point. Well, maybe more like a 60s Showa flavor compared to what I think this is going to be. Yeah, this is going to be a much more serious film. I feel like this might actually end up being the most serious Godzilla film we've seen to date. Right. And like I said, depending on how they do it. Right. And like I said, I'm going to be curious to see what they do with this. If I had to pick what I would rather that they did, I would rather see them actually stick to actual history and use that as to play around with it, as opposed to doing an alternate history. I'm not opposed to an alternate history, but I would rather see actual history first, because I do think it would be interesting, particularly if they got the right actors, and maybe this is something that could happen. Maybe they could, if they wanted to do occupation era Japan and they hired on some American actors, some good American actors, as opposed to some of the notorious ones that they had in the Showa era. They brought on some really good American actors to actually play, like General Douglas MacArthur, and think, can you imagine Douglas MacArthur leading a military campaign against Godzilla? It would be kind of epic, actually.
It would be. I mean, this type of film, though, if they went the alternate history route, that type of film would be very controversial.
I think it would be. I think even if you set it in actual history, it's potentially controversial.
Mm.
Especially if you have Godzilla fighting occupation forces.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what? Because then it just begs the question, what is this movie trying to say politically? And Japanese politics are kind of crazy, and we as Americans don't fully grasp it, but there are some things that we can both agree on that, we don't like. One of which being there's a group over there, the Nippon Kaigi, who, among other things, are notorious for revisionist history. I don't want revisionist history with this.
Yeah.
And because that's not going to be good for anybody.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, we have no idea. We just have a handful of details. We could get 3 months from now and all of our fears could be laid aside and we'll find out we have nothing to worry about. But God forbid that. Actually, I take it back. I just realized, I'm sure we had a few people who are already writing me angry letters. This is technically not the first time that we've had a Godzilla film set in the 40s, because Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. But that was just for the time travel sequence. And that was controversial on a slow news day in the early 90s.
Right. Yeah.
This would be that on Schwarzenegger levels of steroids.
Yeah, you do a whole movie based around that. Oh boy. Like, I would be so curious how a alternate history film would be received in Japan.
I would as well. Especially with its current political climate.
Yeah, we got.
The more we talk about it, the more nervous I get about this.
We just recently had the assassination of Shinzo Abe, and Japan is not immune to its own political unrest and things over there.
Right.
Its own political situations. Like,
right. I mean,
it's hard.
And it's starting to bleed through in a lot of them. I mean, good Lord, the new Kamen Rider show is incredibly politically charged. Shockingly politically charged. It's probably the most political Toku hero show I've ever seen.
I'm only 2 episodes in, and I'm just like, what the heck am I watching?
I'm 2 episodes in as well, and I'm just like, what is going on? But like I said, so we could be seeing something similar with this. Who knows at this point? I do think there's a lot of possibility. I think I would rather see a solo film. As interesting as a versus film in the 40s would be, unless there's a really good story to go along with it, I would be more interested in a solo film. But on the other hand, like I said, is it too soon for a solo film? It's only been, at this point, it would have only been 7 years. The other ones had 3 decades in between them. This has the advantage of being a period piece, but I don't know. I just know that the director is really good. People have a lot of faith in the director. Time will tell. We may do another stream in a couple of months, and we're just going to be gushing over all the details that we got.
I mean, it's hard because all we literally have at this point is a date, a director, and a black and white image.
Yep. That looks like a chestburster ink blot.
It does.
Chestburster ink blot sounds like a band.
I'm trying to find meaning in this ink blot, but all I see is a really messy G.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Disney logo. How if you look, it's supposed to be Walt Disney's actual signature, and for years, my friend, for years growing up, I thought it was a weird backwards G, but it's actually a very stylized D, and I'm getting the same vibe subtly now with this.
Oh, forgive me, Marchand, but so you read it as Walt Disney?
I walked into that one.
You sure did.
I walked into that one. I should have thought about that. I should have thought about that a little bit longer.
That's a weird.
Or you could have said
of
Disney. I mean, come on.
I mean, Disney's funnier because then you could just infer like a weird porn parody of Walt Disney's life story.
Wow. I'm guaranteed to get at least 3 1-star ratings just for that. Thank you.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Damon's gonna enjoy it. He'll get, at least Damon will get a good laugh out of it.
Possibly. So, you have anything else to add about our new film that I'm going to have to carve out some space? I'm going to have to carve out space for the MonsterVerse film for the Film Vault too. So,
I mean, we're eating well.
We are.
This I would say this Godzilla. I talked to a few people, and compared to last year, this Godzilla Day was really, really good. I think so. Like yeah. I have some nitpicks. Like I didn't get everything I wanted as a fan, but you know, all things considered, I'm really happy with what we got for Godzilla Day this year.
Right. All right, Michael, before we move on to the Patreon exclusive portion, let everyone else know where they can find you. Shameless self-promotion.
Shameless self-promotion. Well, you know, you can find me hanging out here on Monster Island. We're not in character, are we? Dang on it.
No, what are you doing? Yeah. Sorry, I muted myself on one spot, but not on the other, and I was trying to talk it to the mic.
You can find me hanging out with this fine gentleman once in a while on podcasts, even though I had to beg to be on this one. You can also find
and there may have been bribery involved as well.
Yeah, there's bribery. There's a lot of there's bribery, murder.
Murder?
Yes.
Murder most foul.
But you can usually hear me make character cameos on MIFV. I play WHG3, Mr. Darius R. Gold, and a new character that we invented, Mr. Kenny Copper.
And you might have one more showing up in the next month or two.
Yeah, I might have one more just showing up every now and then.
He's from Chicago.
For Chicago, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I like being on Nate's show. It's a lot of fun. You can also hear me and Nate together on the Power Trip, a journey through the Power Rangers franchise, where we're going through each season of Power Rangers and talking about them in broad strokes. But our bread and butter for those is our thematic discussions, because we are bound and determined to prove to people that there is more to Power Rangers than colorful spandex and absurdly pretty women.
It's like a trigger now. You say spandex with Power Rangers. I'm just.
We just started Beast Morphers. We both enjoyed what we saw with Beast Morphers. We still got to record on Ninja Steel. I'm not looking forward to that, but I'm looking
we're gonna have fun on that one. We're gonna find ways to have fun with that one.
But no, it's been a lot of fun. Go listen to my past shows, Kaiju Weekly that I co-hosted with Travis, our mutual friend Travis Alexander, the Kaiju Groupie podcast, which was my solo solo show from a couple of years ago. I'm hanging out usually with the guys from Monsters with Attitude, the YouTube channel, just talking about toys, collectibles, and all things nerd stuff about nerdy kaiju things. I'm a little everywhere, honestly. And I guarantee you that eventually Danny's going to pull me into that Podcast of the Apes.
The Apes. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to try to retire. You're going to try.
Yes, I'm going to try to retire.
But podcasting is like the mob. When I get out, they pull me back in.
But most importantly, I am one of the co-producers and co-creators of Kaiju Ramen Magazine. If you want, it is a G-Fan alternative. Let's just call it for what it is. It is a G-Fan alternative. You can go.
And you're in a good place now because JD just stepped down.
Sure am. But we publish issues quarterly. We're a little bit behind this time around, just some life stuff and just the busyness of life and everything has been getting in the way. And we're working on issue 7 now. Still, we just published the digital copy of issue 6. We're working on issue 7. We're hoping to get issue 7 and 8 by the end of the year. Fingers crossed, maybe. I'm not sure, but because both Travis and I and you, Nathan, are incredibly busy people. But If you want to learn more about Kaiju Ramen, go to kaijuramenmedia.com, which is also where you can find a list of all the podcasts that we're currently involved in. So it's a lot. I didn't realize I had so much. I thought I was the guy.
Okay.
I thought you were the guy. I thought you were the guy with the 1,000 podcasts.
No, I'm not the only one. Because obviously you are one as well.
Yes.
If you want to hear all of my plugs, you will hear those in the credits of the show, which you are about to hear right about now. Thank you for listening to the Monster Island Film Vault, a podcast produced and hosted by Nate Marchand. If you want to join the discussion and be heard on the show, we'd love to hear from you. So email us at feedback@monsterislandfilmvault.com. Our website is monsterislandfilmvault.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Monster Island Film Vault, and on Twitter, where our handle is @TheMonsterIsla1. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok. Follow Jimmy from NASA on Twitter at NASAJimmy, and our many other colorful characters using the links in the show notes. The podcast logo was created by Tyler Souls from TylerDrawsComics.com. Our theme song is Wanderer on the Offensive, live edit by B33J, Sarax, Juan Madrano, and Nonsensical Lexus, which is a remix of Counterattack Battle with the Colossus and The Opened Way Battle with the Colossus by Kootani from the video game Shadow of the Colossus. All film and audio clips belong to their respective copyright holders and no infringement is intended or implied. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and or Podchaser to spread the word about the show. You can also support us by joining MIFV Max on Patreon. The Monster Island Film Vault is a Moonlighting Ninjas media production. Sayonara!